Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with daily technical update. It is the 2nd of July. Sorry, a little bit delayed this morning. Hope you can forgive me. We'll start with Maersk, Danish shipping company that has benefited from a rise in the container rates the past few months, especially due to the turmoil in the Red Sea and all that. So it got rejected at just below the 13,000 level. You can see here 12,890 around that level. We have some strong resistance. Is it forming a double top-like pattern here? Of course, we don't know that until the next few weeks, and it needs to break below 11,130, actually closing below for confirmation of that. If we get a close above 13,000, well, then expect further upside potential above 14,000. Moving on to the overall markets, the S&P 500, that is still above 5,447. Very short-term support. It's not the strongest support. If it does close below, well, then expect a sell-off down to around 53.40. Otherwise, the uptrend is intact despite being a little bit fragile. The Nasdaq key support also here, 19,347, 19,210. It looks quite toppy when we're looking just at the graph itself, but the RSI is indicating we could see higher levels on Nasdaq. So a little bit of a indecisive picture there, really, for Nasdaq. We need to have it to close above 20,000. If it does, well, then we will see much higher levels in coming weeks if that scenario plays out. But keep an eye on the supports. On the European markets, we have the EUROSTOXX 50 testing 48.88 at the moment. Very close to breaking below. If it does close below, you see how many times it actually tested it here. If it does close below, well, then we're looking at 4,800 area. DAX index also looks a little bit heavy, failed several times to close above the 55 moving average and above the cloud, especially 18,500. I think we could see selling pressure increasing over the next days. We also have a negative RSI. So a push towards the 17,875 seems to be in the cards. The AX Amsterdam dipped below the support at 918. Currently just a few cents above, so that is a level you really need to keep an eye on. If we do close below, we are already out trading below the lower rising trend lines here. But if it does close below, well, then we are looking at 900 level. CAC 40, well, the bounce yesterday was really short-lived, failed to even test 77.25 level that needed to be broken for further upside, and I think here we are very close to test the 74.64 key support level. If we do close below on CAC 40 there, well, then we are looking at 7,300 around that level. If we zoom out a little bit, you can see why this is around this little dip here back in January. So it looks fairly heavy. So my money, not that I'm invested in CAC in any way, but my money is on further downside. But I need confirmation. The confirmation could also be that the RSI does close below its lower rising trend line here. So that could be the first warning sign. The Swiss market below 11,955 key support. Let's see where it ends today, above or below. If it does end below, well, then we are looking at 11,771, possibly lower, but that would be the next support. Euro dollar, yeah, well, the bounce fizzled towards the end of the session yesterday. And we are now back below 107.50. We were just also below the 108, so we didn't even test the 100 and 200 moving average either. So it still looks very heavy, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a retest of 106.65 here in the coming days. We are below the cloud, and it looks fairly heavy. However, still, if it takes out yesterday's peak at 107.76, 77, well, then we could still see the bullish scenario unfolding. So, but for now we are in a bit of a wait and see mode. Euro sterling got rejected at the 85. You can see 84.996, so basically at 85. The RSI is still in a negative sentiment, and I will say, and this is what you can also do, you can draw a trend line here on the RSI. So if it does break below and close below the lower rising trend line here on the RSI, it's a good indication that the downtrend is to resume, and then we could see a push towards 84 level. Cable spiked just above 127 and a change, then everything fizzled and got hammered back down here. So I would say at the moment also I'm on the sideline for cable here. I mean, it's trading around 126 and 126.50 in that range there, and we have the RSI still in a positive sentiment, but if it does close below 40, well, then expect further selling pressure. However, look at the 200 moving average coming up here, and we have the 55 moving average coming up, and we have also the 100 slightly rising, and we could have a bit of a gold cross here if 55 is moving above 100. So the underlying support or the underlying sentiment is actually bullish, or trends are actually bullish on cable. So I think we will see it slowly crawling higher here in coming weeks, but there's a battle going on definitely. Dollar yen slowly pushed higher. Looks very stretched at the moment, however, but and there's really no resistance. We talked about it yesterday when we looked at the way back here. We are back to, I can't remember how far back we are. We are back to the 90s already, or we are above that level actually. So very stretched at the moment. I wouldn't be surprised to suddenly see a bit of a correction. We need a correction for further upside. And looking at support levels, well, it's a little bit tricky when it just slowly crawls higher. We have support at 157.70. There's a little bit of support also here at, and this is what we can do, also here when it's stalled a little bit at around 158.66. I think we will see a bit of correction before a next upwards move. Euro yen also a bit toppish. It reached 176.4 projection of this correction here. There should be room up to 174.27.30 level. But it is also a little bit stressed. You can see the RSI is showing divergence, meaning we are a little bit stressed. So also correction could be kicking in here. Same picture really with Aussie yen. Still a little bit of divergence. You can see it got rejected there at the RSI previous peak. So I think we will see a correction here also in the coming days. So let's talk about that when it kicks in. Sterling yen also looks a little bit stressed, and the you can see if I mouse over here, you can see that the RSI was at 75.66, so it did not cancel its divergence here. So we are very stretched at the moment. I could see that we will have a correction fairly soon, maybe later today or maybe overnight tomorrow morning. We could see a correction. How large is of course difficult to say, but if we say, well, we already have the top in place, I don't really have a top and reversal candle at the moment, but then, well, we have some support here around 200 level that we could see being tested, but keep an eye also on this rising trend line here. The RSI really is indicating that. All right, the Aussie dollar is getting boring, and suddenly it will move out of this range between 67 and 15 and 65.80. Dollar Canada, more or less the same picture. I still believe we will see it break above 137.85 eventually, but it is not that convincing. But we have the 100 moving average coming up, 200 moving average, but the 55 is still a little bit indecisive. So on the short to medium term, still in this range-bound area there. EURUSD did close above the 96.75 resistance level, and also took out the minor one here at 96.85. Reached 50% of this sell-off here, or correction. I think we will see it pushing higher over the next week or so, but expect a little bit of a setback. If it slides back below 96.75, well, then we are looking at 96 again. If it is crawling higher towards above the 97, and we get the RSI to close back above, we need it to close back above 64, upside confirmation. Dollar Swiss, very close to breaking above 60 on the RSI. If it does and close above that, well, then we are confirming a bullish trend that is indicated here in the RSI. I think we could see us sliding back maybe a little bit to around 90 before the next push higher. If we can get back above the cloud, well, then we are above 91, and then we are back in very bullish trend on dollar Swiss. Finally, the dollar index crawling slowly higher towards 106.33. Moving on to gold, that is also still range bound between 22.85 and 23.88, and that is still the range to break out of. Very indecisive on all parameters. The silver also, my money is still that it will crawl higher, but I need to break. It needs to close above the falling trend line, and it really certainly needs to close above $30 for me to trust it, and we need the RSI to close back above 60. Platinum, well, not much to say there after it was rejected at the 1015, back below the cloud, so it looks a little bit heavy there. Could slide lower towards 950 before it will try again. The copper future here, trying to get back above 443, but the key is 458.90 or 459. It really needs to close above that for getting some upside traction. Energy side, well, WTI is pushing higher towards resistance around 84.46. We can actually see I'll say this is the resistance area. That was this peak, and that is where we are currently at 83 and 84.46. If it does close above 84.46, which is not unlikely, however, well, then we are looking at the previous peaks here from April over the next few weeks. But bullish sentiment on the RSI. Also WTI, obviously 89.33, around that level, 90 level. I think it could be reached here in a few weeks. It is Brent that is lacking a little bit, the WTI. Then finally on the Euro Treasury yields, that actually did test the 447 yesterday, but failed to close above and trading around the 55 moving average, which is actually in declining. And RSI also below 60 got rejected there. We need a close above to call it bullish, and I think we will slowly slide back to 440, 435. All right, that's all for today. Have a nice day and happy trading.